The unfortunate reality that we thought was going to happen has happened. There are some charges that have been dropped against Diddy, and this is the biggest thing since buttered bread and sliced bread and any kind of bread you've ever eaten. This is big. This is very big. Reason why it's big? Because people thought it wasn't going to happen. You see, the problem is that this was sensationalized from the get go. It was all about the fanfare, all about the salacious. And we've been saying this for forever, that the prosecution failed in their duties to make this thing about facts. That's their biggest failure. They went after personality. They went after all these other things that was very much soap opera like. But at the end of the day, they couldn't corroborate, perform a truth test on any of it. So what has been dropped? Right now, they have dropped the arson case. Remember from the Kid Cudi car thing? They've dropped some of the kidnapping, and they've dropped certain sex trafficking counts as well. Now, as a sidebar, we think that they'll eventually drop the majority of this trafficking issue. Why? Because if you drop part of it, we have to start considering that maybe the entirety of it was just like the parts you dropped. There may be some things that you could possibly maybe link to as a thought about it, but provable, undone yet. This is now this video, while it might be to bring light about something, it's an anger video because we are super duper pissed at the prosecution. We've been saying that we've had our disagreements with them. We've argued about their approach. We've argued about the people they brought forward. We've argued about a lot of the things that they've decided to bring to the forefront as opposed to others. And now we see why we were concerned. We have our concerns completely laid on the table with no equivocations that they did indeed drop the ball fully. Many other commentators were coming forward saying, this is it. This is the nail in the coffin. We've got Diddy now. There's no escape for Diddy. He is cooked. He is done. And then he ain't. All of a sudden, Diddy ain't cooked no more. The man's partially steamed. He's not even in the pot no more. They kind of just did a char on the top, maybe broiled, and took him out. So why are they dropping the kidnapping charges? Right now, they say it had been stories that people told, like Capricorn Clark. So right now, they have no surveillance footage. The witness corroborations kind of fell apart because they didn't really have the same stories being told, or at least they had some conflicting informations. Testimonies contradicted certain things from different interviews that they did. The physical evidence didn't support the claim. They had all kinds of clashing information. One person would say this happened at this time. The other person said, well, it might not have been that time. It might have been this. And well, it may not have been that location. It was a different. You see, if you're going to have a story that is factual, be factual and be consistent with the facts throughout the board. But if you question different people and you get different, not just different timelines, but different locations, that's a problem. The arson allegations, nothing was recovered in terms of burnt items, photos, forensics, confirming the act. We're not saying it may not have happened, but the link to Diddy is the problem here. This is why they have an issue bringing that forward. There's nothing concrete that ties Diddy to the act of the arson, the performing of the arson, the contracting of the arson. So they had to eventually toss that out, considering that the case is against who? Diddy. Most of the people recanted their part in the timeline. Now that is a big deal. If I can say initially, this is what happened here, and it didn't, and then you come back and say, well, okay, well, maybe it was a different. You can't use it. It's inadmissible at this point. So we're gonna have to drop the charges. What about the sex counts? So the trafficking thing is this is the biggest part of it. They have a issue now trying to view certain things as overlapping. So like one person would say, this happened, this supposed trafficking happened here. I was coerced here. I was told to do this, but then it overlapped in a more provable point of view. So they're going to drop some of the lesser ones in their mind of the trafficking and go with the things that they believe might be more provable or at least easier to understand by the jurors. Still doesn't mean that he's going to get indicted on those, by the way, especially considering that the prosecution still hasn't proven with beyond a reasonable doubt that what he did was by textbook definition, even by FBI definitions, trafficking of sex-filled favors. They can't prove that yet. If you think they've proven sex trafficking, I would love to hear your evidence because they haven't proven that in court. Otherwise, they would have a bigger foundation to stand on and not have to drop partially any of the sex trafficking allegations at all. Because if you remember, we keep going back to this. 2024, they came forward with a slew of things. And I mean, they just laid it. The man, I think the video went on for like 12 minutes of him just saying, this is what he did. He did. What we found, what we recovered video, we recovered. They had all kinds of things that people thought for sure with what they recovered, Diddy was done. Everybody was saying that. Well, not us. We weren't saying that. We were saying this sounds too rich to be true. A lot of it was hearsay. That's all we kept hearing. People were saying, this is what they found. You remember when people were saying, kids? Where the kids at? Everybody kept coming forward saying, yeah, there were children there, the underage people. Even when the lawsuit with the 13-year-old came forward and people, yeah, that was real. And then we thought, wait, whoa. Something doesn't seem right. And we kept telling people, stop trying to add stuff to this to make it seem more plausible, to make it way more egregious than it is. There's enough on the table to send the man to prison. Focus on that. No. Because attention is what they wanted. They wanted more stuff to be focused on the case. Diddy's on trial. Wow, for what? Look at all the stuff he was doing. Look at how perverted he is. Okay, we know the dude's perverted. Now prove to me what he did was illegal so we can put him behind bars. You didn't do that. You couldn't do one job. You had one job. One. Prove what you brought to the table was illegal. Y'all couldn't do that. You're too confined to this Cassie thing. You want to prove one thing over and over, and that's all you harped on for 4 straight days. How much of a victim she was. How much sexual stuff she did with Diddy. How much she had to do here. How many parties she went to. How many parties did Diddy have? Did he use baby oil? Did anything get inserted? What kind of crap is that to prove illegality? So the man's a pervert. Okay, big whoop. It's not illegal. We've been asking for months for you to prove something. And you're going to drop the ball now. And for all we know, you could have jeopardized the entire case because of your ability to not focus on the right thing. Now, y'all might think our anger is not directed at the proper people, but it is. Because we put our confidence in the prosecution to bring what they said they had concrete evidence on to the table, and they failed. And now here we have some charges being dropped. Some of the, to me, bigger ones. Now you are trying to bank on what you have left or what you've already said, which has proven to be unreliable because it had charges dropped for it. Now you're hoping to bank on racketeering, some more sex trafficking and coercion and transport. You're hoping to make those stick? And you have no time left to prove it? Okay, let me ask this. What in the things you've presented so far that you can show me is tangible proof of racketeering, sex trafficking, or anything other than he got some drugs? Tell me where he's going to get maximum time on. Just tell me where. Because there's always contradicting information based on the people that the prosecution brought forward, especially Cassie. For their bombshell witness to be that, let me not use that word, unreliable is insane to me. In her own words, she's threatened people to keep tapes quiet. In her own words, she said, I wanted these parties, but we're supposed to believe victim. Okay. Not a mention of the guns either, by the way. Not a mention of it. Nothing. Not a single time did they mention it. This case is upsetting on all kinds of levels. And it's not because we really just want to see Diddy burn. No, the things that they're accusing him of, we have no doubt that he possibly did it. In fact, we know that he's done some things in his past. They didn't even bring those up. They stuck to the stuff that was soap opera and social media worthy. This was a circus. That's what eventually it became, is a circus. Salacious circus acts. That's it. We kept asking, why are you going to show the jurors anything to do with a sex tape? What is that going to prove to you? That he was a nasty man? Okay, cool. What's that supposed to prove in racketeering? What is him putting his diddler anywhere going to tell you about sex trafficking? When the people on film are acting like they are enjoying themselves, what is that going to tell you about anything? You didn't show a tape of anybody being forcibly pounced on. You didn't show nothing like that. You showed video of people having a fun time in a sexual position. That's it. And you want to put a taint on it to say illegal. How? You failed. You failed at your job, miserably failed at your job, and you should have passed the test with flying colors. If Diddy walks on any of this stuff, it's on the prosecution. Not because of Diddy being innocent. They would have failed in proving something that was provable by their own admission. So they either lied on Diddy or they're horrible at their job. Either way, you can't look at them and say they did what they could. You can't. They failed. The only question now is what's going to be the final outcome of this? Are we going to witness the most salacious thing pop up on social media ever, only to just become embers and never go anywhere? And this man's going to eventually maybe get 2, maybe 5 years in prison and walk free again. And for all of you concerned about Cassie, he's going to do it to another Cassie because you're unable to just do the one freaking job you had. What an absolute joke the prosecution was. The absolute joke. They might as well be just free defenders. They should have been just, oh, you're accused of something, you don't have a lawyer, one will be appointed for you. They might as well be them. This is so angering on so many levels, man. So many levels. But we said it was coming. From day one, when we saw what they were presenting as their first line of evidence, we said, this ain't enough. And we kept saying it. Regardless of how many other people kept saying, this is it, this is the bombshell, this is the nail in the coffin, come and sit down, have your fun, man, it's amazing, he's done. Where is he done? I'm going to make another prediction. 10 years max he's going to get, and I'm betting you money, half of that he won't serve. If any of this sticks, maybe 10 years. That's going to be it. He might even just have to pay fines. He might even just get 5, but it won't be more than 10 if this sticks. Judging from what they should have charged him with, come on, man. This is ridiculous. If you are pleased with this outcome, something wrong with you. I don't want to be mean, but if you are pleased with this outcome and you think the prosecution did a good job, you have a very low standard for saying that was a success. What your line is for success, anybody could match it. If y'all think it was a raving, wonderful job the prosecution did, you let me know. If you're like us and you're just absolutely pissed at what just happened, you let us know that too. If you still believe your favorite podcasters out there that was telling you for months and months that Diddy is inescapable, he cannot get away from this, he's going to go down in flames, how do you feel now? You still agree? I look forward to seeing what y'all got to say about this one, because at the end of the day, this could be the first of many situations in cases like this where people that do what Diddy did will get away.